What's going on, everybody? It's Cooper from the Backpins. We do not have James on today due to scheduling conflicts. I've been on the road for about a week now, and our schedules just didn't meet up for us to get on and record jointly, so I'm going to do an episode by myself, unfortunately, but it's been a busy couple weeks. Sorry for not getting a episode out last week. It's just been tough with my schedule, and then also it is a little bit of a dead period when you're talking the PBR schedule outside of the PBR Challenger Series events going on. There's not a ton happening until the Team Series kicks off. That's the meat and potatoes of this deal. I have nothing against the Challenger Series. It's just there's so many of them going on. I don't have time to sit there and watch them. I'll check in on results once in a while, but I just don't have the time to sit down and watch all the Challenger Series from the weekend. But today we are going to talk about the two PBR Team Series preseason events that are happening in the next coming weeks. It's really interesting that they're going to have a preseason, in my opinion. And we also have Conner Halverson on today's episode. We were really excited to get Conner on. He was drafted in the 5th round by the Austin Gamblers. Really talented guy. He's a young guy. So hopefully you guys are excited for that. But I'll quit messing around. Grab them slides, boys, because we're coming at you from the back pins. Like I mentioned in the intro, the main purpose for today's podcast was to get Conner on, but also let's talk about the two preseason events that the PBR are going to have leading up to their Team Series debut. Those two preseason events are going to be in Bismarck, North Dakota this coming weekend on June 17th and 18th, and Tryon, North Carolina the following weekend, June 24th and 25th. Bismarck is one of the bigger summer PBR events you can go to, if not the biggest. The only one, in my opinion, that really rivals it is Big Sky, Montana. Big Sky has a huge summer bull riding in July. And I'm not shocked that if they're going to do preseason events, that one of them is in Bismarck. It's a really well-attended summer event for the PBR. They pack that place, and it's been going on for a long time. I went to it as a little kid, and always well-attended. There's always some big attraction to it, and getting the first preseason event in Bismarck follows suit with what they try to do with that event. Now, I'm a little shocked the PBR is going to have preseason events, and I'll get into it a little bit later, but in my opinion, it's not completely necessary with the sport, but it's just to generate buzz, in my opinion, get people excited about the Team Series, all that. To me, it's more of a publicity thing, but nonetheless, I'm excited to see how it plays out. I'm excited to see what it looks like when teams play against each other and all that. I'm excited to see the atmosphere, so let's talk about the format. Each team is going to play one game on Friday night, and that schedule is going to be the Texas Rattlers taking on the Carolina Cowboys, the Oklahoma Freedom taking on the Austin Gamblers, the Nashville Stampede taking on the Kansas City Outlaws, and the Missouri Thunder taking on the Arizona Ridge Riders. The schedule for Saturday night is the Arizona Ridge Riders taking on the Texas Rattlers, the Carolina Cowboys taking on the Missouri Thunder, the Kansas City Outlaws taking on the Oklahoma Freedom, and the Austin Gamblers taking on the Nashville Stampede. And there will also be a bonus round on Saturday night. One rider from each team will attempt an additional bull, and that rider does not have to be one of the 5 riders who competed earlier in the respective games. So they are awarding bonus points based on the rider's placement in the bonus round, but at the end of the day, it's an exhibition game. These games are not going to count for the final standings or how they get seeded going into the finals in Vegas. These are strictly exhibition. So when you look at who they're sending, 5 of the 8 first-round draft picks are going, but after that it gets a little bare as far as what I would call a quote-unquote big names of the PBR Team Series. But let's dive into who is tentatively slated to ride in Bismarck for their respective teams. The Austin Gamblers are sending Alex Marsilio, Blake Smith, Conner Halverson, Dakota Lewis, and Griffin Smeltzer. The Arizona Ridge Riders are sending Chase Doherty, Josh Steele, Colton Hevelo, Ross Freeman, and Tice Willis. The Carolina Cowboys are sending Dalen Swearingen, Junior Patrick Souza, Lane Nobles, Mason Taylor, and Wingson Henrique da Silva. The Kansas City Outlaws are sending Bob Mitchell, Cole Melanson, Dalton Castle, Dustin Martinez, Marcus Mast, Tate Pohlmeyer, and Trace Brown. The Missouri Thunder are sending Andrew Alvidrez, Clayton Sellers, Colton Fritzland, Jesse Petrie, and Leandro Machado. The Nashville Stampede are sending Aaron Williams, Jackson Mortensen. I'm very excited to see how Jackson Mortensen looks this weekend in Bismarck. I think he could be a serious sleeper in this team series for the Stampede as a guy who comes from left field and makes a huge impact on his team. Fernando Henrique Novaes, Ryan Dirteater, and Tiago Salgado. Also excited to see Tiago back. He was really making strides in 2021 before he got hurt, so I'm excited to see what he looks like in his return to the PBR arena. The Oklahoma Freedom are sending Briggs Madsen, Caden Bunch, Declan Garland, Eli Vassbinder, and Kyle McDaniel. And rounding out the 8 teams, the Texas Rattlers are sending Brady Olson, Cody Jesus, Ednai Kaminhas, the old guy. Man, that guy just doesn't quit. And it's awesome to see. 47 years old, makes PBR World Finals. That's incredible. Ednilio Almeida, Rafael Jose De Brito, and Travis Wimberly. So those are the tentative names slated to compete this weekend in Bismarck. And I'm not overly shocked that some of the quote-unquote big names or key pieces to the draft and the team construction component of this are not slated to be there. And I'll elaborate on that by saying, when you look at NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, unless they're playing in the Olympics, those guys aren't competing in the offseason. Like NFL players aren't playing tackle football for fun in the offseason, okay? So when you look at them, they're coming off of a 6-month layoff roughly, and they're going into a training camp scenario to get in shape. They play preseason games to get those reps, get guys conditioning up, all of that. When you look at bull riding at this level, every single one of these guys could get on bulls any given day of the week whenever they wanted to. They have access to that. So a preseason, in my opinion, is not nearly as important for professional bull riding as it is when you look at baseball, football, basketball, etc. But I still think it's good just to kind of get a trial run. You know, you kind of get used to the format. It's not going to be the same as an individual event. Lets guys kind of get their feet wet with that and kind of figure out their routine as well. And it gives these coaches a practice run as far as matching guys up with the correct bulls, because that's going to be a big part of this. Is the coach that matches his guys up the best is going to give his team a significant advantage to succeed. And so it's good for the coaches. It's good for everybody. It generates buzz. And like I said, I'm not surprised they're doing it in Bismarck, North Dakota, because that has been one of the biggest summer events ever since I can remember. They always do something big. And I guarantee the community of Bismarck, Mandan is excited to have a preseason event in their home building. But let's take a break and talk about Rank Ride Fantasy for a second. If you enjoy what the PBR Team Series did, and especially the draft aspect of that, check out Rank Ride Fantasy. They let you put your general manager cap on, and you get to make those decisions that a general manager does week in, week out. I played the entire 2022 season, and it was a great time. It's a really good way to engage yourself with the bull riding that's happening. When you have something to cheer for or against, it really makes it more exciting to watch, especially when you pick a guy that goes 90-plus points. There's not a better feeling in the world, and it's a really good opportunity to give you and your buddies the opportunity to give each other a hard time, compete against each other. Let's get some bragging rights going. I'm better than you are. I know more than you do. Now you can put it to the test, and bragging rights are always good when you're interacting with your best of friends. It's a really great time. I can promise you won't be disappointed. So check out Rank Ride Fantasy at www.rankridefantasy.com, and I will link their social medias in the description below, and also I will list them at the end of this podcast. But let's get back to it. I think that about covers the main points that I wanted to discuss today. But let's get into my little sit down I did with Conner Halverson earlier this week. We had some challenges with the internet. I lost about half the audio. I could not use it just due to poor quality. And even some of this is going to be a little spotty just due to the internet connection that I had. I'm currently recording this podcast in a public library. I'm making do with what I have to give an episode out to you guys. So it's a pretty short conversation with Conner. Unfortunately, I would have liked it to have been longer and been a little more in depth, but with the recording situation we had, we made the best of it. But I was really excited to talk with Conner. He was a 5th round draft pick by the Austin Gamblers. And this is a guy I've had my eye on since he turned 18 and started going to PBRs. You can really see the talent when you watch him ride. And he talks about this in this little sit down interview. He's a perfect example of a guy who you put him around the greats of the game and he's going to be a sponge. I definitely think this is going to take Conner to the next level. So I'll quit talking and let's listen to Conner Halverson. I am here with newly drafted for the Austin Gamblers, Conner Halverson. Conner, how's your Monday night going?
It's going great.
How's the weekend in Deadwood?
Oh, shoot. It wasn't too bad other than I came out of there with a handful of stitches in my forehead, but nothing that won't heal.
And I see you guys were doing some team training camp stuff, I guess, for lack of a better term, earlier last week, too. How did all that go? Was that pretty fun?
Yeah, that was pretty fun. We met up in Decatur with our team, minus Claudio was over in Brazil, I guess. But our team met up there in Decatur, and we had a little fun. We got our butts kicked in the gym, and then we got on some bulls, so it wasn't too bad.
Heck yeah, that sounds like a good time. So let's backtrack a little bit. So you're from Gordon, Nebraska, correct?
Yep.
So tell everybody what growing up in Gordon, Nebraska was like.
Oh shoot, it's a pretty small town, and we made stuff up to do, and I guess that's pretty much all there is to do around here, other than sports. You got baseball and the summer, but other than that, there isn't really a whole lot to do. So I guess that's kind of how I started riding bulls, is there's just one other thing I could find to do in the summer around here.
Heck yeah. So talking about sports, were you pretty into sports throughout your high school years and in middle school years? Were you a guy that played other sports?
Yeah, when I was real younger, I did about every sport that I could around here. I played, basketball when I was real young, wrestled, played baseball, track. I did about everything. And middle school, I did, track and wrestling and football. And then I played football my freshman year, quit after that, and decided I wanted to rodeo more than I wanted to play football. And I wrestled all 4 years of high school, though.
So I wrestled too, and from what I've seen, I wasn't as good as you. But talk about some of the things that translate from the wrestling room or the wrestling mat to the rodeo arena, because I think it's kind of really similar with the mentality you have to have in the mental toughness it takes to do both sports. Yeah,
the mental toughness is probably the biggest thing that translates in both the sports. Not every other sport. You go work your ass off in a 100+ degree room, sweat your butt off with your wrestling partner and beat each other up, and so that carries over to bull riding. The mental toughness, I'd say, would be the biggest thing that translates in both.
And from a physical standpoint too, the conditioning over the wintertime where we live, it gets cold. You don't want to be outside. So getting that conditioning in the wintertime definitely helps a guy riding bulls.
Yeah, no, it really conditions a guy too, wrestling. And if you haven't been able to have any of it for, 4 months. And so, whenever you weren't wrestling, you just were making the most out of it, eating and drinking all the bad stuff, and then you'd go get on bulls and you'd be out of breath and sweating. And so during wrestling season, being in conditioning and stuff like that, you'd go to rodeo and you'd get off your bull. You wouldn't even be breathing hard, wouldn't even broke a sweat. It is honestly my favorite time to get on bulls just because of that.
Heck yeah. So what really made you decide to start riding bulls and take it as seriously as you have been? You know, a lot of guys tried out and stuff, but obviously you were pretty driven from a young age to make it to where you're at. So when was that decision made, or what kind of made you make that decision to really decide I'm going to go all in with this?
I guess it'd probably be around, I knew I always wanted to do it. And, it's just always been my dream. And then about my junior year, when I started, riding really good and winning a lot, I told myself that as soon as I turn 18, I'm for sure, getting my PBR stuff and doing it. And right as I was 18, I think I went to my first PBR a week or two after I turned 18. And, the first year was kind of a bumpy road, and I did not stay on a lot of bulls that I would definitely ride 9 times out of 10 today. But after that first year, and I got really well for me.
That's awesome that you stuck to your guns and stuck to that path no matter what it took. So let's talk about some of your idols that you looked up to in your bull riding journey, whether they were on TV or, people that you knew in real life. Who are some of the guys that you really looked up to and were kind of mentors to you through that journey?
Oh, shoot. I always looked up to JB Mooney. I think about every little kid probably looked up to him watching TV. That would probably be my biggest one on the PBR stage at the time.
So let's move into the exciting new thing with the PBR Team Series. You ended up getting drafted to the Austin Gamblers. What was that like, being a guy from a small town and getting drafted by a professional sports franchise?
When I first got drafted, it didn't really sink in. Just coming from such a small town and everything just being a dream when you're a little kid to being actually get up there on the stage and hold that jersey. It is pretty rewarding moment for me. It really just proved to myself that if you keep your head on straight and you keep your goals and everything in front of you and you keep taking that leap every day to make yourself better to get there, that it will happen.
How much have you gotten to hang out with your new teammates now, and what do you think about the squad that the Gamblers have assembled?
As a team, as a whole, when we went down there to Decatur, that was hung out and trained together and got on. But aside of that, we're pretty good friends. We've hung out and we're pretty close for the most. I think that's probably going to be the bad sides from our riding with the Austin Gamblers is our friendship between us all.
Do you think bringing the team atmosphere to professional bull riding is going to increase the level of competition, as far as you're not just riding for yourself anymore? There's 4 other guys needing you to succeed. Do you see this increasing riding percentages, success rates, all that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like the next individual season coming up, it's going to be really tough. I guess if you don't take working off of it and building off of, your coaches and your teammates and everything, then I don't really know what you've been doing the whole time, because I know for sure with our team, having Jose there mentoring us and Michael Gaffney and everyone, I know they're going to teach me so much, as long with our team so much. And I feel like everybody on the Austin Gamblers is going to be for sure in the top 20 next year, because that's just kind of that's just the team we have right now. And I mean, if you hang around a 2-time PBR world champion like our team is going to, I mean, it's going to be pretty hard not to learn something new.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of people say, and bull riding is an individual sport, but even if you think back to before your PBR days and even now in your PBR days, it's not really an individual sport. You kind of always gravitate towards a certain group of guys, and you want them to win just as much as you want to win.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of guys, room with the same couple of guys every weekend, or drive to the bull ride and just the same couple guys. I feel like it's kind of the same deal in a sense, but now we have a legendary coach that is going to be there, behind our backs, teaching us new things. And now we're kind of holding ourselves accountable, or else we're going to let one of our teammates down. Whereas if, we're a team until we show up to the bull ride, and then I'm trying to win, and I'm going to try to have you in my rear view mirror, on the leaderboard, to where now it doesn't matter if I'm 90 and one of my teammates is 91. It's for the better. It doesn't matter who scores the highest. It all comes down to what team has the highest score. So I feel like that's going to really, increase our support for each other.
Name one bull in the PBR, any bull that you would pick every time in a draft.
I'd pick Whoopah any day in a draft.
Thanks for coming on. I definitely appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us on here, and best of luck to you with this teams deal. We're rooting for you. We think you're really talented, and I'm excited to see the leaps forward with your career, and best of luck this fall with the team series.
I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on.
It sure was a good time getting to sit down with Conner. I really appreciate him taking time out of his busy schedule to sit down with us. He's a guy we're excited to see him progress in this PBR team series, and I've been wanting to get him on for a while. It just sucks that the recording, the Wi-Fi and all that wasn't the best, but hopefully you guys still enjoyed it, and hopefully we don't have that issue anymore moving forward. But I think that'll about wrap it up. You can find us at From the Backpens on Instagram and TikTok, From the Backpens on Facebook and YouTube, and my email is Cooper, Cooper, from the backpens at gmail.com. You can find Rank Ride Fantasy at www.rankridefantasy.com, at Rank Ride Fantasy on Instagram, at Rank Ride on TikTok, Rank Ride on Facebook, and Rank Ride TV on YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel, guys. We've been putting team previews up there, so check that out if you want a little bit more in-depth discussion about what I think about the teams and their draft picks, free agent signings, and all that. We're going to do every team. So even if we haven't done the team you like the most yet, we will get to it. And until next time, you guys have a great one. Come back and visit us again from the Backpens.